Just listen to the nobility of that sound and tell me you're not in love. Infinite sustain. Hello and welcome to the Guitar Collection. Today I am presenting royalty of the classical guitar and certainly of the doubletop tradition, because I have right here an instrument made in the year 2015 by Antonius Müller. Of course, the incredibly well-known German doubletop luthier, responsible for sort of being the pioneer of the balsa doubletop with this chevroning pattern that you'll see in between the top on this, between the two cedar layers on this cedar doubletop, which of course so many luthiers have been inspired by and have also utilized since then. I suppose I should say a little bit about Antonius Müller and his guitars and who they're played by. I actually did an interview of Antonius Müller, so definitely check that out, and I'll link it in the description. It's a very fascinating story of how he went into guitar building and developing the model that is played by so many great guitarists today, including Agnello Desiderio, Zoran Dukic, Sharon Isbin, and on top of a ton more legendary, very famous established players, there's also many young players playing his guitars, like several GFA prize-winning guitarists, Hal Young, Francisco Luis, making amazing recordings on these guitars and performing all over the world. And the list goes on and on. I actually have a very special and kind of funny story, maybe you guys will enjoy it, about maybe it was the guitar that made me fall in love with double tops, actually. And it was an Antonius Müller that was made this very same year as the one I have here. This one's made in 2015. And it was owned by a colleague of mine, Al Montiel, who's in the Texas Guitar Quartet, amazing guitarist. And he had just recently got this guitar. And I remember that his was from the year 2015. And I asked him if I could play it. I was at the Columbus Symposium in Columbus, Georgia. And he was outside of a hall, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I play that guitar? It sounded so incredible. He said, sure. He was very generous. I was playing it. And then all of a sudden he goes, hey, Evan, I'm sorry. I have to go. And I said, oh, no problem. Here it is. And I realized he was about to go on stage. Like within 10 seconds, he needed to go on stage. And he was being so generous as to let me play on his guitar right before he went on stage. So I'll never forget that act of kindness. And also, I'll never forget the sound of that guitar. And I remember playing that guitar thinking like, I was so excited about the sound, but also I was so jealous. I was like, I'll probably never get one of these. Of course, Antonius Müller has a well over a 10-year wait list now. So it's really exciting to have one of these in my hands. Again, this is from the year 2015. This is number 3. I know for a fact Al's is number 11 of the year 2015. So he built a bunch of guitars that year. Anyways, let's move on to the specs and then I'll talk about the sound. This one here is a cedar double top, as most of his guitars are. I have seen a few spruces, but this one is cedar. Of course, his balsa interlayer double top. Now this, you'll see his rosette, which he's had for many, many years now. It's very nice, maybe like a Hernandez y Aguado inspired central motif there. Of course, Antonius Müller is very inspired by a lot of these older Spanish makers, as well as some of the French ones like Boucher and Friedrich. He talks about that in the interview as well. You'll see on the tie block here, this very nice light colored wood in this sort of circular pattern. There's a raised fingerboard, making it very easy to access the upper frets. And the overall condition of this guitar, being 10 years old, is very, very nice. There are nail marks here and there, but there are no cracks, no repairs, no repolishes. And really, besides a couple of little nail marks here and there, there's nothing to note of. There's no string slips either. There's no string dings, which is great. The back and sides of this guitar are made of Indian rosewood, which I would say most of Antonius Müller's guitars are made from. The neck is actually more on the C-shaped side. I mean, a lot of them are quite a bit more leaning towards D-shaped. It's fairly thin, C-shaped, 650 scale length. Actually, I thought this could have been 645 or 640 when I played it, because this one's very comfortable to play. Nice low action. It is indeed 650 scale. Moving to the head of the guitar, you'll see his typical headstock shape here. Of course, the square slots, black rollers, and Goto premium tuners. Wow, okay. I've covered a lot of the specs here. We should talk about the sound. I feel, at least, that Antonius Müller guitars have such a distinct sound quality without that being annoying. There is this sustain. There's this phenomenon of sustain on these guitars that almost doesn't make sense to me. That I really want to compare to actually some of the best Friedrich guitars that I've played, Cedar-topped Friedrich guitars, that have this sustain of like, when you pluck the note, like this first A, it's an otherworldly type of resonance that comes out of the guitar. It's rich. It's clear, the sustain lasts a very long time. It comes up to volume very quickly. It's responsive. And the way it swells within the guitar makes you feel so comfortable with all of the sounds that you're making. And that's always something that stands out to me when I get the chance to play on an Antonius Müller guitar. There are some of the most comfortable guitars to play just because you can trust every note. I would put it against any guitar. Very, very trustworthy. Just the highest level of trustworthiness. Meaning you're not going to do something risky like this. Like going really slow on all these upper notes while, you know, worrying that these might sustain, or maybe that when you play this B, it might die away on you. No, it's gonna stay. And it's very, very impressive how it does this all over the neck. But we will get more into it here. I'm gonna go ahead and test each of the strings. I'm gonna start on the second string. It doesn't get much creamier than that sound. My gosh. First string. It's an ethereal type sound. Third string. The feeling that the notes are just popping right out of the guitar with very little effort, but rewarding a strong attack. Fourth string. I would classify this in the range of double tops that are extremely resonant. What do I mean by that? Well, There's a lot of sound produced from every note, whether it's from overtones or sympathetic vibrations. It is very resonant. There's a lot of sound. Yet is very, very clear. The sixth string. Let's try Prelude 11 by Tárrega. In F sharp that lasts forever. As you can see, this is a guitar that really just really pushes you to make a great sound. And by that, I mean, it doesn't catch, you don't catch a lot of strays playing this guitar. You know, it's not picking up nail noise like crazy, and it's not amongst the clearest of clear double tops that are super, super lightweight. You know, I talk sometimes about guitars on this channel where, you know, a very nice tone is very much rewarded because it'll pick up all of the negative things. This is a guitar that kind of covers all of that. It does a really great job at just letting you do your job as a guitarist and not having to be so controlling of every little aspect. All of that being said, when you relax and when your fingers in your right hand aren't concerned about every single little pluck, it lets you focus on doing musical things. You know, whether that's a crescendo, and whether that's making sure that you're not worried about sustain in certain areas because you know that C sharp's dead or that D's dead or that E's dead, or you can't trust this F sharp. You know, on these guitars, they are undoubtedly some of the best sustaining guitars on the planet, and this one is no different. So that's what you get with this, a little bit more forgiving sound, also just a very perfect sustain. Let's listen to this with La Catedral. And you get this feeling with the trebles. Something like you're playing chimes, like wind chimes. And well, you can see why so many players turn to these guitars. It's really, every single one just seems to be like this work of art, and he's built so many guitars now. He's really got this method down, and I think that Antonius Müller has kind of set this benchmark in terms of evenness of sustain, overall character, and just reliability of the instrument as a whole, and really for making this style of double top that you don't feel like you're having to control so much, and really you let more of the music do the talking than, you know, all the manipulation of your right hand. And well, hopefully this makes a little bit of sense. I'm in standard tuning now, so I'll try some chords there and maybe a couple of other pieces. I want to remind you to check this guitar out at guitarcollection.com. You'll see a full album of photos. There's a link to this instrument in the description. You can check to see if it's available. If it is, please feel free to write to me. I do occasionally have instruments of this rarity in, so if you're interested in finding one of these in the future or an instrument like it, please write to me. I might have suggestions for you. You'll also find a place on the website where you can enter in your email address to subscribe to the email list. That way you get notified about new instruments before they become publicly available. Thank you so much for watching this video. Congratulations, Antonius Müller, a 10-year-old guitar by him. Extremely rare, some of the most sought after guitars on the planet. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Such a full sound.